All right. Welcome to Flrysh, everybody. Yay! And I hope you notice my shirt. It's a little hint to the theme of today's show. We're talking about bees. That's right. So, God save the queen bee. I bought this actually at the place where we're going to have our field trip this upcoming month. It's at the Valley Hive, which is at Topanga Canyon Boulevard and Chatsworth. It's just south of Chatsworth Street. So we'll be going on May 10th in the afternoon, and they have a really cool bunch of things. I'm going to tell you more about that later. I got excited and ahead of myself. So first, I want to remind you that Flrysh is about eco-centric creative connection, community eco-heroism, which is harder to say than I expected, and inspired action for the planet. So we're here to do the community connection part and to get inspired to go out into the world and be eco-heroes. And we're part of two organizations, which you can see there, the Order of the Sacred Earth and the IONS community. And of course, we're part of the Centers for Spiritual Living, which is our host center here in Granada Hills. Yay! So the Order of the Sacred Earth invites us to take this vow together. I promise to be the best lover and defender of the earth that I can be. Let's say that together. I promise to be the best lover and defender of the earth that I can be. That's right. So it invites you to step into a greater awareness of how you interact with the environment, but doesn't put so much pressure on you that it feels like you're reaching for something impossible and you give up. You just do the best you can with every moment. The IONS community, ION stands for Institute of Noetic Sciences, and their research and education is all based on the idea that we agree with, that everything is interconnected, from space to the ocean, to the earth, to us. Actually, I found something really cool on their website that I'll read to you. It's a nonprofit dedicated to research and education on the outer limits and inner spaces. Ooh. To reveal a deeper understanding of the interconnected nature of reality and extend our capacities as humans. So that's why I had to read it, because it's a lot of big, cool words all strung together. So this is how we took ourselves out into the world to be eco-heroes just a few weeks ago, April 13th. So Flrysh's purpose is to share ideas and inspiration that connect us to each other in nature, and then get excited and go out into the world and do it. So these are pictures that Reverend Mike put together from our Friends of the LA River cleanup. And I don't know if you can see, this picture is called Stephanie Wins. Stephanie McMorrow, who was our guest educator, I guess, last show, talking about Friends of the LA River, found the biggest piece of refuse, shall we say. It was like part of a futon or something that three of us dragged up that slope and then acted like we had really caught something big. A big fish. Also, for me, that day was a day of synchronicities, which really ties into our guest last time, Sky Nelson Isaacs, who talked about synchronicity and flow. And so I spent that whole day, at first I thought I was late to everything, but then everything turned out perfectly. I was right on time. I was delayed, which made it possible for me to help somebody that I wouldn't have been able to help. And then I showed up just before we set off together. I found everybody before we ventured into the wild of the Los Angeles River. So it was perfect. So as I started to tell you, because I got so excited, this month we're going to be going to the Valley Hive, which I'm so excited because they have tasty honey that you can, you have a honey tasting. They have all different types. They started because the guy who runs it, he runs a nursery also. And he used to go and rehome bees that had been, like people would call and say, there's a beehive in my garden or in my house or yard. He would remove the hives and take them and manage them as a beekeeper. And so he built up a number of hives. And so they collect honey from different areas. My favorite is the avocado honey. It's so buttery and delicious. So when we go, we'll be able to look at the nursery, which is beautiful and really flourishing and blooming right now, but also to shop for all the different, very healthy things that come from bees, like propolis and royal jelly and all of these things, which maybe we'll talk about with Nancy later, or maybe we'll just find out on our field trip. She's making a face like, no, she has no intention of talking about that. I'll ask her though still, probably. So I think before we launch into learning more about bees, we should sing a song. So Reverend Mike, as our guest musician of the day, I see you've dressed up, you put on pants. The rehearsal, it was shorts. All right, so which song would you like to do first? Should we do well, I'll ask you, which one? I have 2 slides ready. I just need to know how far to move the slideshow forward.
I'm not really...
You're not attached. Okay, this is the one that came up first, so it wins. So Reverend Mike and I were talking earlier that This Land Is Your Land was written at a time when it was inviting us to social action. But if you think about it from an ecological standpoint, this land is our land, and it really calls us to appreciate all the beauty that we have, and what we love and appreciate, we protect. So the words are up there because we're inviting you to all sing along here in the live studio audience. And at home, you'll have to figure out your own words because nobody's listening, and so you could do whatever you want. All right. Ready? And Mom, you want to come up? My mom, Cheryl Khalid, is holding a microphone, so let's have her come up. Yay! We want to stay over here, though, because we don't want to block the words, right?
I was going to go to the other side of you, but
okay. We're going to look at Mike from over here.
This land is yours. Wait a minute.
It's more like a campfire feel, you know? It depends
I have the key here.
Yeah, that's
Please
right.
don't shift it.
It depends on where he starts, Andrea.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that river of highway, I saw above me an endless skyway. I saw below me the golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, I've followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond desert, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. come shining as I was strolling, the wheat fields waving, the dust clouds rolling, the fog was lifting, the voice came chanting, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California, so let's take care of it, to New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. You want to keep going with another verse?
Are there any more verses to do?
As I was walking,
Again?
I saw a sign there,
Ooh.
and that sign said, no trees are passing. But on the other side, I didn't see nothing. Now that side was made for you and me.
Woo!
I go, this land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest through the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. In the squares of the city, in the shadow of the steeple, near the relief office, I see my people, too bad, and some are grumbling, and some are wandering. If this land's still made for you and me, that's the way to go to the
quiet
part.
ending.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and
Ah, the
Willie
tag.
Nelson and me.
Yay, Reverend Mike McMorrow, ladies and gentlemen.
So let's protect it.
Reverend Mike, who's not used to sharing the spotlight when he's up here, usually has it all to himself. and that's, I find that with a lot of ministers, you get in a conversation with them, and it feels like they want to do a 20-minute side of the conversation. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
You didn't
As
say anything about keeping it to 3 verses. I'm sorry.
I didn't even know there were 27. Yeah. So now we know. That's educational. Thank you, Reverend Mike. So now, since I put up the slide, it's time for me to...
He asked back.
Sure, later in the show. You can sit there, or you can, feel free. It's a campfire. So we're going to bring up my friend, Nancy Kroner, from Life's Paradise and Connection Rocks. She's applauding herself, which is a good sign, I think. I'm going to sit down. Whew, that long song. That was a lot of work. It was fun work, though.
It was?
It was. It was,
I feel like I'm in a cage.
do you? It's a microphone cage. It's
It is a
sound
microphone. Don't do
cage.
anything wrong if I swing my arm. Just somebody catch it for me.
It'll be, it'll really wake people up. So first, I should say, well, I shouldn't. I don't
You
have
will.
to. I'm not
You
going to
can.
should on myself.
You can do
but I
whatever you
can.
want. And if
I-
you do, just tell me to duck.
I met Nancy in the 90s at Unity of La Crescenta, where we ran the youth ministry program together for a while. 94, she wants to be exact. I was kind of trying to, blur the timeline. So all these years later, because
Right, there you
I
go.
didn't want to count, so I put all these years later. I credit her guidance and ready information with keeping myself and my mother also said this earlier, keeping us healthy and out of the doctor's office. So that's my testimonial. Yeah, you applaud that, and I'm glad. So one of the reasons that I asked you onto the show is because I had an experience where there were a lot of bees in my neighborhood, and I was finding dead bees on the driveway. And I was wondering why they weren't making it, because I knew the hive was across the street in a tall palm tree. And I was out in the backyard one day, and a bee just made a beeline right for my neck. It's true. And stung me. And I felt sad because I figured that meant he was going to die. And I was minding my own beeswax. And wah, wah, wah. And so I called Nancy because it hurt. Bee stings hurt. And I said, what do I do? And she said, do you have any yellow mustard? Or first you said mustard, right?
It doesn't matter what mustard.
And I said, Dijon, does it need to be supernatural? Does it not supernatural, because then it would glow. But she's like, no, yellow mustard, French's, whatever. And she said to leave it on until it dries, and then brush it off. And it helped.
It took out the stinger and the poison.
Yeah. So then I was at the Valley Hive recently, checking it out for a field trip, and somebody came in and said, do you know what to do for bee stings? And I said, yellow mustard. And I said, really? And then he said, but I'm concerned about swelling, and he held up his arms, and his arms were really swollen. I think he's somebody that rehomes beehives, and so they're not really happy to be rehomed, I think, and they might have stung him a few times. And so then I recommended a homeopathic medicine, which used to be called Sabadil, which I got at Sprouts, and now it's called Rhinallergies. Rhine like rhino, rhinoceros. Rhinoplasty.
They changed it. Why?
Probably because nobody knew what Sabadil was,
Okay.
and so
I've
they didn't
never
know
heard
to
of
look for
Sabadil.
it. It's a homeopathic name. So, but I remember learning about homeopathics partly through your guidance. So why don't you give us an idea of how you kind of got on this path? Like, I remember when I first met you, you were learning about energy. And that's a basis of what you do. So,
A basis.
all right. So tell us more.
A basis. That's funny because that's my name.
Your name is Basis?
No.
I
My
didn't
name
know
is
that.
AKA Basis. No. That was years and years ago, somebody asked me what my title was and what I do. And they wanted it on a business card, and I said, I don't have business. I don't, CEO, whatever, and if anybody knew me exactly, you look at me and you're going, no, not really. And so I said, I'm the energy lady, because some kids introduced me to that. And the only reason why I took that name on, because it was fun and everybody's energy, and I love energy, and I can play with energy. But the path on it is your fault.
It's my fault. I mean, I think that's a good thing.
Right.
I'll take
No,
that blame.
Yeah, my big joke is I had to get divorced in order to find it. But yeah, I started massaging people and I started seeing things. That sounds funny, but it's the truth.
What kind of things?
I started seeing things about their lives when I was massaging their arms. I'm like, hey, whatever, and I tell them, they go, how do you know that? I don't know, it's in here. That kind of stuff. And I did that, but I did that as extra money, just they paid me to massage them. And I never considered it a business until I started working with you. And one day you said, I have to start paying you because whatever was getting it was working. But it's not just what I see. It's the fact is the thing I know about, which I know being in this community, you guys understand, is the oneness, putting everything together. Mind, body, spirit. And so I literally started playing with it. And then my mother got ill with cancer. And she did all of the Western medicine, but at the same time she utilized an energy lady that I worked with. And she did not believe in me, and she told me that I was pretty much Satan because she was Catholic.
Wow.
Until,
that can't feel
No,
so
it wasn't
good.
nice. It
No.
really wasn't. It was hard. It was hard. It was torture between her and my sisters. And within a couple months, even though she worked with this woman, within a couple months of her leaving, she asked me, she begged me to never quit doing what I'm doing because she saw it.
Her spirit,
Her
you mean
spirit.
after she had
No,
transitioned?
before she transitioned.
Oh, okay.
She saw it. She saw it in my eyes. She went, I wish I had listened to you. I can't believe that I've done this to you all these years. Yeah.
So that's really healing.
It was.
Mhm.
It was. And so I got to purchase a house when we sold her house, and I dedicated one room that I work on in the sanctuary to her, which I don't even know if you knew that.
I'm not sure I did.
No, because I really haven't told that many people.
Hmm.
And because
now
it was-
everybody knows.
and now everybody knows. It's all throughout the internet. I'm in trouble.
Mhm.
No, and so I did, but see, the challenge that I have is that I do have, friends with these two people, a quirky personality. And
What are you trying to say about me?
nothing.
Because we're mirrors for each other,
Yes.
aren't we all?
Yes.
So.
And so I did. I got to start venturing into this, but because my mother got ill, I wanted to find out because she had the normal healthy lifestyle, and I wanted to find out what it was all about. So it interconnected me into it, and then I met a homeopath, and I started learning about how the physical body works along with the energetic body, and then I got into finding out that the emotional body really works at the same time, and how it all interconnects. So. Through this journey of 20 some odd years, see, I'm just saying 20 some odd.
See, I gotcha.
20 some odd
Blur in
years.
the timeline.
Even Milena didn't even know I had opened this one up because I've been on this venture. And the last she knew was Connection Rocks, and my little format is Connection Rocks because disconnection sucks.
Disconnection sucks.
Disconnection sucks.
That should be a T-shirt.
I'm actually, yeah, that's.
Actually, you could do one on one side,
Uh-huh.
and then Connection Rocks on the front, and then as you're walking away, if people look back, it'll say disconnection.
Well, I tell people
sucks.
unplug from society and plug into who you are. So you unplug and unplug in.
Mhm.
And it's funny when I started with this one, when I changed it, because I've changed names because I've evolved. Funny enough, I got very tormented by a lot of people. A lot of my clients dropped off and everything. Why? Because reality started hitting, except my self-esteem was shot. So going through that whole thing, it used to be called Life Enhancement. And then it went to Connection Rocks because I wanted to get into the full aspect. Funny enough, I continue to call this Life Enhancement. So I have done a full circle. Life
Right.
Enhancement is, Life, just did it. Life's Paradise is about bringing the paradise of life together. And everybody in this community knows that life is love, spirit, God, anything that intertwines within it. But the playground part is because of the oxymorons. Our life is a bunch of oxymorons. We say we want to be healthy, but we turn around and we poison ourselves constantly. We want to be mentally okay or emotionally okay, but we listen to everybody else and everything everybody else thinks. And so I realized that it's all about patterns, habits, and beliefs, and it's also about vibrational patterns. So it's the spirit, it's the spirit energies.
Right.
It's the vibrational energies.
And I'm going to tie that back into things that I've been studying about bees in
Yes,
preparation for
yes.
this show.
It's
That
all-
bees are like a reflection of who we are, or like a microcosm of the macrocosm.
Yes.
So when things start going wrong with bees, it's our hint. Bees, butterflies. It's our hint that something's really out of harmony and really out of balance.
Yes.
And one of the documentaries that I was watching said that the idea of colony collapse disorder is actually a reflection of human colony collapse disorder. That we have become disconnected from ourselves, from each other, from our environment. And the philosophy, the sort of ruling, governing philosophy that current society is built around is that it's a machine that you can tweak and build, and that there's no feeling involved. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
the mechanistic industrial society.
No, because it's all vibrational and energies.
Right, so
Yeah.
now we're seeing the repercussions of that.
Absolutely.
When we've separated ourselves from the energy, separated ourselves from the natural environment, from the balance, now we're starting to see how those things are really essential to our well-being. And the bees are the first warning. So
And
we
what
have
I'm really
to-
excied about, even though we're not talking about, is the butterflies coming back. Because
Yes.
the butterflies are coming back, that means the bees are going to coming back.
Mhm.
And I think I shared it with you, the bees in my backyard. Did I tell you about that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, a couple years ago, I have neighbors behind me, and they're not really eco-friendly, but they had a whole bunch of bricks, and this beehive started, and I have this beautiful deck, and this beehive started, and I started watching it get bigger and bigger.
It was in the bricks?
It was in the bricks, real close to me. People wouldn't come in my backyard, and I'm like, this is so cool. It felt great, the energies of them.
The
I'm
buzz?
like, yeah, and I kept telling them, just don't bother me. One day I came outside, well, my dog went outside and turned around and came back in. They swarmed my backyard. And I looked at them and I said, I appreciate what you're doing, but you really need to leave because this is not okay. I wouldn't call anybody, nothing. They ended up leaving and homing themselves somewhere else, but they never came back that day. They never
Wow.
came back into my backyard.
You know, I had a wasp's nest in the backyard, and I
remember
had
that.
just like synchronistically read something about a guy who was cleaning out the gutter on his roof, the rain gutter, and accidentally disturbed a wasp's nest.
Oops.
And he went into sort of communicating with them mentally, and he sort of saw a picture in his head of like the collective wasp as one big wasp. And he said, I didn't mean to disturb you, I don't want to hurt you, and they didn't sting him. And so I used that same technique. I looked up that wasps are also pollinators,
Yes.
and they help maintain a balance of insects in the yard. So they look out for black widows and
That's cool.
roaches and stuff. Yeah.
I don't
And-
see many wasps in my backyard, though.
And we haven't since then, but
No.
while they were there, I said, you know, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for being good neighbors. I'm going to be a good neighbor and not poke you with sticks or try to shoot you with water or, you know, or with insecticide or anything.
Right.
And then they eventually left.
Right.
But we were, you know, creepy crawly free for that time, so it was a good balance. So we can communicate with the environment around us. It's just a choice, really, and in doing so, we connect with that, and it becomes a reciprocal relationship.
Right, because you just said something about chemicals. As you know, that I'm chemical-free.
Mm-hmm.
Body, mind, everything is chemical-free. And bringing in renters into my home, the last one looked at me and she says, what do you mean by chemical-free? I don't know if I can live that way. I thought that was funny, but you know what? She absolutely loves it. She doesn't have the same allergies that she thought she had, all of this kind of stuff, and she's very healthy. And she notices it, so
Oh,
yeah.
good. Yeah,
But that also is helping the environment.
Yeah, in the documentaries I saw, they pointed out that the chemicals that are being used to kill insects, the insecticides, were actually developed during a world war
Yes.
to kill each other.
Yes.
And then they had all these leftover chemicals, so clever marketers decided,
Right.
oh, what can we do with this? And so the intention behind it is death. It's not life.
No.
And because we've been sold marketing and the intention and the word, it's all very powerful stuff. We've been sold on this idea that we have to do this, that this is the right way to do it, that this is how things work. We've allowed our society to get more and more off course. And now there are enough people awake to bringing it back into harmony. And more people are waking up and standing up for that every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, my little motto is we're waking up the sleeping giants.
Yeah. We're the giants.
We are the
I
giants.
like that.
But you know what's really funny is that, and I say the world I exist in and live in on a health-wise, they call me the alternative health. That's a
Right,
joke.
It's true. You should be the
No, this is the
standard.
health. The other is the alternative health, you know, in the sense because we're almost ignorant, and that's sad.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, creating Life's Paradise to allow it to be the whole entire concept is to allow people to become who they really are. Whether it's energetic, whether it's a physical, you have a physical ailment, we start with that. If you have an emotional ailment, we start with that. It's all of it connected. There's no separation of any of it. So that's
Right.
why, but that's why there's the umbrella. You got the Connection Rocks Playground, which is me. I get to play in the world of energies, but the rest of it is everything else because I was trying to do too much under one umbrella.
Yeah, and that happens
Yes.
because we're all very ambitious, creative people.
know.
So we
Yes.
tend to take on a lot. So I kind of created a list of things that we can do to help our environment, our bees, and ourselves. And the first one is no pesticides. And that means, yes.
Yay!
So that means in our own gardens, but it also
Do you realize they're
means
putting that on the news now?
no
I
pesticides?
heard a couple commercials say, pretty much, please stop, doing your lawn and stuff, like putting it on there because it's going into our ecosystem. I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean,
that they're saying
there
it.
are repercussions. It's showing up, and in one of the documentaries they saw, it's so sad. Some companies have started putting the pesticide on the seeds itself, and then when you plant them, it integrates into the plant. And they showed the difference between a bee landing on an untreated natural flower and a bee that's landed on one of these modified flowers. And the bee, you can tell, it's struggling, it's staggering, it's trying to wipe itself off, and then it falls. And it's all the chemicals.
Right, and what they're doing is they're cloning.
Yeah.
That's how they use the cloning, is by the pesticides.
That's the other thing, is that disrespect for the balance of life. So many of the commercial agriculture companies or beekeeping companies have been messing with their queens. They showed scientists, like, they knock out the queen, and they were actually, like, artificially inseminating her and putting her back. And sometimes they switch out queens, and the whole hive is, they don't know, they love their
But
queen,
they're doing
right?
that. But they're doing that strictly out of fear base. They think that we're going to run out, so they think that if they clone it, then we'll at least continue to have it. Which, like I said, it's an oxymoron because
Right, because they're
they're
messing.
they're becoming robots. They're becoming non-functional.
Yeah, it messes up the whole balance, and the chemicals also. They thought it was okay because the first generation of bees to use it didn't seem affected, but then the babies were affected, and so that they think that's part of colony collapse disorder, is that at some point the homing or something goes wrong in the bees, and they just leave the hive and they never come back. So that was part of the mystery, is that it was these empty hives with just a queen and the babies, and they didn't know, they weren't finding dead bees nearby, they were just gone.
Yeah, because they don't want to be in it.
Yeah, they just were like, I'm out of here.
But if it's fear-based,
Yeah.
like, again, being in this community, it's raising the consciousness of us and allowing ourselves to become aware, to become awake, to be, to
And operate from love.
and operate from love, operate from, from the heart. It's going to raise the consciousness anyway, and we're going to automatically change it.
Right. So if we love the bees, then we'll.
How about loving ourselves?
We can love ourselves enough to love the bees to complete the whole cycle. At Sprouts, they have a whole rack of seeds that you can buy that are to encourage pollinators in your garden. You can buy seeds and plant them. You can go to Theodore Payne, where Stephanie and I went, and where we're going to do a future field trip, where they have California native plants that many of them encourage pollinators. And it's good for us, too, to have natural plants around, the natural beauty. It's all that
I didn't
cycle
even know
of
they had that. That's
love.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
cool.
learning things as I go, which is why I'm inviting everybody along, because to try to think that you have to be an expert in everything
Oh, God, no.
immediately is overwhelming. But if we each take one step at a time together and make it fun, and it's an adventure we can all enjoy. Another thing that I did when I started seeing the bees on the ground in my neighborhood was to put out water, just because I thought maybe they were getting too tired to get across the street and get back up to that. And it worked. I mean, as soon as I put a little plate of water with a lip on it, because it was shallow enough that the bees wouldn't drown in it, then birds started showing up in the garden. And then
Oh, that's sweet.
and and then we started putting seeds out. So then more birds, and then squirrels, but it started with the water, and I didn't see any more
In your
dead
big
bees
backyard.
after that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of water. And then one of the things, an educational piece, is I saw the neighbor who had the palm tree. He was concerned about the bee stings on his kids. And so he did research, and I didn't know what he was doing until I saw it happen. He had hired people who aren't, like, at all
Aware of the environment.
Yeah, they had sticks and trash bags, and they just beat the hive down. And I was so heartbroken. That's when I started doing research about what can I do to make up for that loss that I
Wow.
witnessed. And actually, I went to the hairdresser today, which I'll show off my hairdo. She had mentioned that the store next door to hers had been invaded by bees, and they called somebody, and it was going to cost hundreds of dollars, and they didn't have the money. And so she, having been raised on a ranch, said, well, I'll take care of it for you for free. And she went in with a can of Raid and a broom and killed them all. And she was telling the story to say how she helped out a neighbor who was in need, and now that they were helped, that they have a stronger relationship. And I didn't say anything to her because I didn't want to take away from her story, but when I went to her today, this is a story she told me months ago. When I went to her today, I said, it's really been haunting me, and I know that you didn't do it out of malice, but I wish there was a way you could have done it without killing the bees. So I found these companies that will come and rehome the bees. So I gave her 2 phone numbers. One was for the Valley Hive, and one was for a place in Van Nuys that I found when there were skunks underneath my dad's office property in this crawl space. It's called All Star Animal Trapping. It's in Van Nuys. And if anybody needs the phone number, I have it. And actually, I've given it out twice today because my dad called to say that there was a swarm of bees at his property. Somebody called to tell him, and he wanted those numbers. So actually, I gave the number out at Starbucks, too. So all these things start coming up when you start noticing them and paying attention, when you have this little bit of information that you could share. I was going through a Starbucks drive-through, and at the place where you give the order, they said, we're not going to be able to hand you the order through the window because we have bees, and they'll fly into your car, and they're flying into the store. So come around, and we'll come around to the other side, and we'll bring you your order. I said, I have a number for a place that will come move the bees if you want. And they said, yes, our manager will be so happy. So I have never used this all-star animal trapping company, but I've given out their number like 4 times. Another thing that you could do in your backyard is hang a bee house, because not all bees are honeybees, but they're all pollinators. And sometimes they need a place to crash for the night. And so instead of making them find some place that's dangerous.
So it's going to be the bee hotel?
It's a little bee hotel. It has just little,
And their deposit has to be honey, right?
reeds. No,
Oh, darn.
they don't have, they're not honeybees.
Bamboo.
Yeah, it's bamboo. It has,
Mason bees and stuff.
is that, yeah, see?
Well,
Sylvia
they
knows.
don't need the hive.
Right, but they just need a little chill out space, and you can provide that for them so they have a place to rest and then move on. We can also help with our dollars and our cents to go to, thank you, to go to farmers
Oh, sorry.
markets and buy local organic produce, locally sourced honey. Part of the thing that has caused a problem is the crops, the commercial crops that are being grown are all one thing for miles and miles and miles. So diversity of crops is better, and that's when you go to the local farmers who have a little bit of everything, and the bees survive better off of that. They eat better, their honey is better.
Well, something that just popped into my head
Mhm.
is, well, the one thing that just popped, I just had 2 things pop into my head.
That must have hurt.
It did, but it went on each side, so I'm
Okay, balance,
Um,
harmony.
I don't know if you're aware, but when people have a lot of allergies,
Mm.
they highly recommended for people to eat the honey in their
Oh,
area,
yeah.
because it builds the immune system up so that the allergies go away.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like propolis and the other.
But
I
when
know
you do
that's
your
good for
local,
allergies.
but if you do it local stuff,
Mhm.
it's because that's where all the pollination that people have allergies
Okay.
and stuff.
So
and
for
that's
us,
just
the
fine.
Valley Hive, which is just down Chatsworth, that's local for us.
That's not for me.
Sorry. You can still come to
But
the field
I was,
trip.
I
It's
was also
delicious.
gonna say, when I fried my leg,
Yeah.
when I got myself 3rd-degree burn,
Mm-hmm.
I got it from here all the way down. Don't ever pour hot tea water on your leg. It doesn't feel good. I used the mustard to stop the penetration of the heat,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another thing that it does.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that got the skin to grow back was the honey.
That's amazing.
And see, that's why I wore shorts. There's no scar.
Yeah.
I have no scar. And
There
I should have.
isn't.
I should have, yeah.
No, don't shit on yourself.
Well, no, seriously, no. I don't like shitting on myself. Because then, you know what, it probably wouldn't have helped my leg out too much if I would have shit on myself, so.
Should.
But, I mean, you're saying the properties of honey, and all I used was table honey. I didn't, people are like, oh, you gotta get this, no, just,
Yeah.
and it did.
When I lived in Sri Lanka, I read the book The Secret Life of Bees, which
Oh, I've heard
they
of
made
that.
a movie, but I didn't feel it as much with the movie as I did with the book. And it talks about the spirituality of honey and bees and
Mhm.
queens, and about the antibacterial properties and all of the holistic health properties of honey. So if you haven't read that book, I recommend it. Yeah, check it out. Sue Monk Kidd, 3 names. Yeah, she's written a lot, but that's I think that's her most popular book, actually. Yeah, first, really? Her best book, okay.
She had some other ones.
Didn't do it for you. Another thing I looked up about vegetables and crops and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, heirloom vegetables. I wondered why they were called heirloom. And I found out that they are open pollinated, which means they're pollinated by insects or the wind, so that helps. It's without human intervention. And that many gardeners agree that most of them have more flavor because they are varieties that were developed before all the chemicals were used and have been, generations evolving. And that's one of the things, one of the documentaries I saw talked about is that nature has, 4 billion years of research and development invested. And scientists are now learning the value of that. And so there's a movement called biomimicry where they're studying nature and how it works and then building technology based on that to take advantage of the research and development. So, and the slow food movement, have you heard of that?
No.
It kind of brings in all of this, that if you use locally sourced, seasonal, organic produce and cook it slowly and naturally, like, in the olden days when families would hang around or cook together, and it's delicious, it's good for your mind, body, and spirit, and it slows down the pace of life that we've gotten into. Fast food is not healthy for us
No?
in any way. It may be
Shocking.
yeah.
But it's
And
food.
it's that fast pace of lifestyle, that mechanism that is causing a lot of the problems. So we need to slow down and appreciate nature, life, each other.
It's funny is when I got on this program called the Metabolic Diet,
Mhm.
and he talks about that, and he suggested me cooking my eggs on like the heat of 3, instead of whatever, like it's kind of like a medium.
on your,
Yeah,
okay.
and I asked him why, and he said because it doesn't kill everything.
Oh.
I thought because usually I put it on high and I just cook it, but if you do it on a lower thing, the color is different too, and it's
Ah.
much denser, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. So
Cool.
what you're saying totally fits.
Yeah. Well, we can squeeze in a few Q&A if anybody has questions. If not, we're moving on to a song. See? There's a question now. It's not a personal comment. We're going to bring you a microphone. It's right there, Mike Carland. Mike will bring you a mic.
I'm just asking a question. I'm not asking a question.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just trying to burn some time
You don't have to bring time.
up. I was wondering, because there's been a lot of talk about bees, if you're familiar with Rudolf Steiner?
Yes.
If you're familiar with his lectures on bees.
I heard him mention that let's see, when was it? I wrote it down. It's in all my pages of notes. 80 years ago, he predicted colony collapse disorder in the bees. Here it is, 1923. See, I have notes. He's a scientist, philosopher, and social innovator. He predicted that in 80 to 100 years, honeybees would collapse and his insights have helped move us through the crisis. So we are moving through it. We're not going to set up camp and live in the midst of this situation.
no.
We're moving forward. So the documentary that I heard mentioned, this is called Queen of the Sun, like Queen Bee. So you might want to check out that one. The other one that I really liked, it's called Love Thy Nature.
Oh.
And
That's cute.
it's a very new thought angle on appreciating nature, and that's where they talked about the biomimicry. And then The Vanishing of the Bees had all the information about crops and things like that. And I have a whole list of documentaries if you're interested, but I just went on Amazon Streaming and did a search for bees, and they all came up.
Which is cool that a lot of people are becoming very aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how we're in the place that we're in now, just like we are in the health and wellness, that we're flipping around because things are not working properly. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, we're learning.
We're learning,
And
but that's
evolving.
the whole concept of
Life,
evolution.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's true.
life's not
So
a
you-
mistake.
Are you all ready and set?
Sure.
The answer is good.
Which song we doing?
We're gonna do birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees, because it's about love and all of that. You want to stay up here and sing, Nancy?
Sure,
You got a mic. No pressure.
no pressure.
I have phone numbers if you guys need them. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I got all the juicy stuff while Mike's getting set up. You want to come up, Mama?
Come on up.
No, I'll stand up.
I'm
If
trapped.
Nancy stands, she'll lose her
trapped.
mic, so she has to.
That
make
would
a
be okay. I'm totally
decision.
fine. I could do this too.
Okay.
Of course, even when I'm standing, most people think I'm sitting down.
I'm standing.
Okay.
I don't need a mic.
We can
I can
lean
just
over.
blow in your ear. No, I can read.
I have a mic here. Oh,
I do
yeah.
that.
Okay.
That's why I was gonna blow.
Count us off.
Well, let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and the thing called love. Let me tell you about the stars in the sky and the girl and the guy and the way they could kiss on a night like this. When I look into your big brown eyes, it's so very plain to see that it's time you learn about the facts of life, starting from A to Z. Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Yeah.
When I look into your big brown
Bug eyes. Big bug eyes.
it's so very plain to see that it's time you learn
About
the facts of life, starting from A to Z. Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Yay!
I don't know what key you all were singing in, but there we go.
We don't know
Sounded
I
either.
remember that song.
That was scary.
I remember. It's not scary. It was awesome. Okay, where did I put all my notes? Okay, here we go. Yeah, I think we have about 10 minutes left. So I have a meditation, and and then we'll do a little love offering. I don't know if we have anybody. Is there anybody who can collect a love offering? Okay, Chloe, yes, she's a pro.
Not yet,
Well,
she's all excited.
yeah, she's ready. No, let's do our little visualization, and then you can do it. So there's an app called Insight Timer, which you can get on your phone. And it will time your meditations, but it will also, there are guided, recorded meditations about all kinds of stuff. And so my favorite is one called Grace, Open to Receive, and it's by Karen Leonard. On the app, it's 20 minutes. I'm not going to do the 20-minute version, but there's so many beautiful nature-based things that I listen to it over and over again, and I fall asleep to it. So I'm going to try not to fall asleep now, but I invite you to just sort of get a little taste of it. So let's close our eyes and breathe deeply and slowly. And relax and open yourself to grace, to guidance, and to universal flow. Allow the energy to flow freely throughout your body, following the rising and falling of your breath like the tides of the ocean. With each out-breath, releasing tension, and with each in-breath, breathing deeply into your body. Allowing your spine to align and the natural flow to unfold within you. As you notice the muscles in your back letting go and waves of deeply relaxing energy flowing throughout your body into your arms and your legs, soothing, comforting, and guiding you deeper within. And as you release everyday thoughts, you allow your mind to become as clear as the sky. So now breathe once again and take in that breath of life, the blessings of being alive, the life force that flows through all of nature. The same energy that spins the stars and allows the sun to rise and set in the evening also governs your body, your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. Breathe in that luminous energy to connect with the universal flow that's all around you. You are connected to all of life, to each and every star, to the forces older than time, the wisdom of the earth. You are connected to the millennia, the wisdom of all the ages, and all the blessings available. As you feel your connectedness to all of life, imagine you're someplace outside in a beautiful oasis in nature. And as you stand and lift your arms, it's as if you can see and feel a delicate web all around you, like golden threads connecting you to all of life, to the divine universal flow, the great intelligence that has moved life forward for billions of years. Before creation, you received that connection, knowing that the evolutionary impulse that runs through every living creature is also within you, opening you, your neural circuits, to greater intelligence, to deeper connection, opening your heart as you feel this golden web of life reaching out all around you and connecting you to your soul's desires, the fulfillment of who you are, the opportunities coming your way. expanding your energy field to circle around the globe. Open your heart to receive and give grace. And you may be surprised at all the doors that are opening, at the connections that are forming, and the sense of joy that unfolds like a beautiful flower in your heart. Letting you know that yes, you are on your way to fulfill your greater potential, to experience happiness and joy in your life, deep connection. So now, as you gently begin to bring yourself back, you return with a profound connection to your inner sanctuary, to feeling rejuvenated, and at your very core, blessed by the energies all around and within you. And in the coming days, you'll feel a great sense of joy as you connect with grace in so many unexpected ways. Wonderful surprises unfolding in your life. And as you return, you gradually notice the rhythm of your breath bringing you back. That great breath of life that flows through you. And with a big breath, you reawaken. You are re-energized and ready for the wonderful days ahead. Welcome back. All right, Chloe, if you are energized to go and grab our offering basket, we will invest our energy, our seed money, into the center that hosts this opportunity for us to connect with each other in our environment, and into keeping programs like this active in our community so that we can invite all the people around us to join us. I have a handout available for everybody. It has information on the Order of the Sacred Earth and IONS community group, but it also has information on the Valley Hive and our upcoming field trip, and on Nancy's lifesparadise.com and a little bit about her. So, Mom, do you want to pass those back or around? And if you go to flrysh.net, you'll be able to see where you can RSVP for the field trip, so we know how many are coming. You can also find more information on butterflies and bees at the Xerces Society. That's XERCES. And they, what's the word? They stand up for invertebrates, which is anything without vertebra, a spine. They have exoskeletons, many of them, insects and the like, but it's also sea creatures, like on this picture they show some jellyfish, and I think that's a chambered nautilus down there. But that's where you can find a lot of information about plants that you can put in your garden that will attract pollinators, and just different ways that you can support. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. And then my thank yous. That's Rock Solid Design and Marketing. That's my brother's graphics company. I wanted to thank Vicki Thompson from the Unity Alhambra Foundation for her support. InSpark Creative, my friend Manik, which in Sri Lankan language, Sinhalese, means gem. It doesn't mean she's manic like crazy. M-A-N-I-K. She's in Canada, Toronto, Canada, and she helps me with websites and stuff like that, so I'm grateful for her. She was a great support. And of course, our AV team, Mike and Tamaro Duffy in the back there. Thank you so much. And their company, In Your Own Voice, where you can record your own meditations that you play to yourself. Maybe you can upload them to Insight Timer and other people can enjoy them too. And of course to Reverend Mike McMorrow and Stephanie McMorrow in supporting this program, and me and teaching me stuff. And the board and leadership of CSLGH, Centers for Spiritual Living, Granada Hills.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rosalie, Chloe, and everybody. Thank you all for being here. It makes it a lot more fun than me sitting alone in a room. And a final reminder of our vow before we leave the room and go out into the world. Together, I promise to be the best lover and defender of the earth that I can be. Woohoo! Thanks, everybody. And it's right on time. It's 8 o'clock right now. That's really cool. It's like I know.
I'm not thinking it's you guiding it, but we'll go with that.
It's totally me. No. It's me being in harmony and synchronicity and flow. Yeah.
Bye,